So there are five big drivers that help explain what's going on in the US and global economies. The fifth driver that I think is worth mentioning, I call the end of the debt supercycle. I borrowed that from other people who've used that term. And what it means is we may be getting to the end of the road where we can keep using government spending and tax cuts to stimulate the economy. Whenever we had an economic downturn, the US, and I would say the global economies, but particularly the US, has tended to go to a similar playbook, which is spend more, leverage, either tax cuts or government spending or some other action financed with greater debt. It is used that technique to help stimulate us out of the downturn that we were in. We're now at the point where US government debt to GDP is in the neighborhood of 100%, and the present value of unfunded entitlements is now something in the neighborhood of $65 trillion. And by the time people listen to this recording, that number will be out of date because it will be even higher. These are historically high levels of debt. The Federal Reserve balance sheet at the time of this recording is $9 trillion. Hopefully in the future, they'll make progress to try to whittle that down. But I remind people back in 06, 07, the Fed balance sheet was more in the neighborhood of $700 or $800 billion. It's now $9 trillion, which has helped to monetize and facilitate that debt growth. When I was growing up in this country, workers were here, dependents, i.e. retirees, were here. As we age, we're now workers are here, retirees and dependents are moving up here, which means there are greater obligations for those workers that are retiring, and there's a decelerating growth rate in the number of workers that are producing enough income to fund all those obligations. There's a point at which we're going to have to get back to basics to grow GDP. What are the basics of stimulating the economy? Find ways to grow the workforce and to improve productivity. And I talked about earlier issues like access to affordable childcare, being able to use transportation to get to a job, getting people to work longer in their careers, immigration. Those are all issues on the table. And ways to improve productivity means better early childhood literacy, secondary education, skills training, maybe not always a college education, may not be right for some people in that we've got a very low completion rate and we need to get more people into skills training. All those steps in the educational and job access ecosystem will help stimulate GDP growth, and leverage can't always be the go-to move to stimulate growth. And that's why I label the fifth driver end of the debt supercycle.
To learn about the 5 structural drivers of the global economy, continue watching our clips on the Robert Stephen Kaplan YouTube channel or visit robertstephenkaplan.com.